Okay, no. My name is Crystal. My psychic number is number 3, which is ruled by Jupiter, and Thursday is my day. Um, Currently, I am an entrepreneur of One Reflection LLC. That's a skincare company that I just started in June. Still in the developmental stage and research stage. Let's see. I can't. I'll say I came into the knowledge spirituality around 2016, 17, when everything in my life, my foundations, was turned upside down, including my job, my friendship from since I'll say 7th grade, and that was in 90. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 1990 was over. My mother getting sick and me having to uproot my life from Georgia to go take care of her in North Carolina. And ever since then, I've been seeking the truth, or yeah, the truth. So that's a little bit about myself.
Hi, wholeness.
Wholeness.
So my name is Des Wishby. I am a psychic number 7, and I am psychic number 7 is K2. We don't necessarily have a day, but we share the energy of Monday with number 2. That's a little bit about the psychic number. I really do believe that I'm K2. So um, I am also the owner of Awaken Self Life LLC. I've been working working to work for myself for a while now, right? Um, and I don't know when I could say that I exactly put my foot into spirituality, because it seems that the journey is an ongoing one. However, about 3 years ago, I can pinpoint of like say seriously going 100% for it. Um, or a little bit more than 3 years ago, 100% and dedicating all, my whole life to the pursuit of this truth, I should say. And so I'm pretty excited for Abundance Portals and Awaken Self Life to take shape and to be birthed and to just be here with you ladies. Wholeness.
Wholeness. Thank you, sister.
Who's next?
I'll go. Wholeness. Wholeness, everyone. So I'm Veronica. Ennealogy number 3, destiny number 9. 3 is a very, very fortunate number, hence my last name being Fortunati. Fortunati. So yeah, man, where do you even begin? Let me just break it down.
I love you so much.
I love you so much. Yeah, so basically, I came into a state of being, after many, many years of struggling with just addiction, really kind of went very deep with myself. I had a very dark ascension, ended up homeless, ended up losing custody of my kids, ended up, again, really going into the depths, and came out the other side. I've always been a seeker of truth, and the last few years, it's really been more of a practice of embodying all the knowledge and not just speaking it. I've always been a writer at heart, in spirit. That's my drive, that's my passion, that's my creative essence, has been really to be able to be a conduit of certain frequencies and vibrations, and I love that with all my heart. Mother of 2 boys, and I'm very fortunate that I am able to work currently for our family business, which is, of course, a cleaning company. We're an essential business right now. So, doing that really allows me to spend a lot of time with my boys and yeah, and just show up in a way that really allows me to practice being. Recently really been going through a lot of dismantling and transformation of the ego, and really seeing how that has played out as a number 3 has been incredibly interesting. But yeah, excited about a lot of projects that I have, you know, myself dipped into, one of them being Abundance Portals, one of them being my writing and my creative projects. And yeah, that's pretty much me, a little itty bit of me. Wholeness.
Wholeness.
Bonus.
Bonus.
My name is Antoinette, and you all know me as Tony, which is the nickname that I go by most of the time. I am a nurse coach and just started Enlighten Therapeutics, which is nurse coaching, and the other things that I'm involved with are gardening. I'm an avid gardener, especially with the push towards sovereignty. It has become more and more important to me. And I have experimented with some things around gardening, and I just absolutely love it. That I don't use any chemicals or forcing the plants to grow. But I do spend time with them, real intimate time with them, like they're a person, which, you know, some people think's odd, but they like it and I like it too. So I continue to indulge that way. I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm the owner of an IT company since 2007. And I'm looking to transition from that into the nurse coaching full time. As well as the nurse coaching, I discovered a new creative side to me, which is jewelry design. So I really didn't spend a lot of time with crystals as a young person, but I think it was in 2017, 2018, I went to Sedona. And while I was there, I went in some of the crystal shops and fell in love with them, and found myself spending a lot of time around crystals. And I felt, I don't know, real energy with them. And so I started playing with them and wires, metals, and started putting them together. And they kind of look nice. So in that fashion, I'm a jewelry designer. I'm a mom of 2 adult children, and I have a grandson. And I am a Destiny 5. And that is about all about me.
Beautiful.
Wholeness. That was beautiful. Beautiful. It's so funny, Tony, because, you know, my mom and stepfather, they both are 5s, and they spend so much time tending in their garden. I always say the 5s are so awesome because they love plants. And I get nervous as a 9 because I'm like, okay, this is something I got to take care of. Mars don't around in this. So that's so awesome. That's so awesome to hear. My name is Paige Flowers. I am a Destiny, I'm a Psychic 9 and a Destiny 7. And for those that don't know about the Psychic 9, that is ruled by Mars. And Mars is the peacemaker and the arbitrator of both the sun and the moon. So I guess with that energy alone and having to know both of those energies very well and treat them both the same, my job is really about selfless service. and it's not always easy with that. I came into spirituality and a lot as it pertains to awareness and consciousness. My first introduction probably was the 6th grade, I would say. And it was when I had encountered a real spirit. And it was really interesting because I didn't really know how to go about it. There were other people in the room that were with me. It was a spirit just bouncing up and down on, the furniture and things moving and all on the walls and the curtains. It was just something that I hadn't, still to this day, witnessed. And that had me ask a lot of questions about reality, like what is really going on and how is a person able to do this with no brain, no hands, no legs, no anything. And so from there, of course, I grew up. I wasn't too serious about it, but I always had questions because of that. But it wasn't until I got to college and I started getting into crystals and gemstones and learning a lot about consciousness and awareness was when I started to find my teachers and what I was supposed to be doing. Crystals, in fact, for me, had really took me to a whole nother level in my dreams. So I knew there was something to them, especially amethyst. I knew there was really, really something to it. So for me, I said, okay, from there, I'm going to do rose quartz and then clear quartz and then all of the other stones. And I knew then that I had to create a business. If I was going to open up a business, I had a business in college, but when I graduated, I said, well, my first business is going to be crystals and gemstones, And so I ended up selling those and learning a whole lot about them, applying them in my own life. And then I started to make jewelry as well, So I also had a YouTube channel. I had skipped that. Had a YouTube channel when I first started out learning about spirituality. And that's how I ran across a lot of these lovely beings, because we ended up connecting through a spiritual group known as Secret Energy. And so that's how I am here today. That's how we all came together. So much love.
Yes. Thank you so much, sister.
Well, I will say, I don't know if we said this or not, but this is our first panel, or first panel for Abundance Portal. So welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
And I just want to make an edit. I said I'm a Destiny 5. I'm a Psychic 5 and Destiny 7, just for correction there.
Nice. Okay, Destiny 7. Nice.
Are you 7? Are you Destiny 7?
I'm a Destiny 7 too. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, they all think we 7s. We so mystical. Yeah, And even my name page, Flowers, like when I do the Ennealogy, it's a Destiny 7. It's a 7 name.
Oh, wow.
It really sells it, huh?
Yeah, wow.
So I didn't talk about my advent into spirituality. It officially started in about 2016. And I had been searching, and I didn't know what I was looking for. But I truth is what it was. And I was looking everywhere, all kinds of places. And then I too found my teacher. And but I've had many. And I think I landed on Secret Energy because of tribe. And because Seven Bomar has a real intense way of explaining things. Sometimes it didn't sink in. And at that time, I just figured I wasn't ready. But most of the time, yeah, it did. And so it was easy to move towards ambassadorship for me because of that.
Agreed. I think the beautiful part about very powerful conduits of certain energies is that they have the ability to really get through a lot of different planes of existence, you know. And certainly he's been one of my mentors and one of my teachers, a brother for life. And but really you hear that message is so potent, you know, the vibration is so potent, it just like slices through a lot of the BS essentially. So just giving so much thanks for everybody that shows up as a conduit of these powerful transmissions that are so needed today for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, agreed. So I want to ask you ladies this. How do you see yourself, you know, in the Ennealogy? You know, because I know we're talking about the numbers, but how do you see yourself in the Ennealogy? And, you know, what is it like to be a 5? What is it like to be a 3? What is it like to be a 7 or a 9? Anybody want to touch on that?
Sure, I'll go. Let's jump right into it. Yeah, it's funny for me, Ennealogy, numerology, coming into all of that knowledge has been really interesting, actually, because I found once I began to study it, I was already embodying a lot of it. So that's always fun to see, you know, and it was particularly helpful in seeing where I wasn't allowing myself to embody traits of myself that were actually very innate, like an innate part of my being. And, you know, the deeper you dive into it, the deeper you understand, like, oh, wait a minute, I need to own that. I need to really come into that and really embody that more rather than resist it. You know, it's so interesting, like the parts of ourselves that we want to resist. And it's like, wait a minute, that actually belongs there. That's actually something you don't want to get rid of. And so that's been interesting, just coming into, you know, the psychic number, the destiny number. Again, I'll repeat, I'm a psychic number 3, the orchestrator, I'm a destiny number 9. I think, you know, after a certain age, I think it's like, I don't know, 34, 35, 36, you kind of begin to really come into the embodiment of your destiny number. And I am there age-wise. I'm 39 years old. So yeah, it's been interesting. As a 3, you know, I radiate a lot of fire. You can probably sense me coming into the room. You know, I for sure embody that. I've been told that numerous times. And I definitely feel that about me being a 3. I am ruled by Jupiter being the guru. You know, definitely feel like in this journey, in this experience, I have been able to, you know, as I observe the experiences that I have, like I realize, wow, I really have been transmuting these energies, lower frequencies, dark energies, whatever you want to call it, but it's just basically transmuting the darkness to the light, and a continuous way and different ways of doing that. It's been so interesting. It's really helped me to kind of hone in on that and just reflect on, like, especially like the experiences in my life that have really been incredibly challenging. You know, we've all been through something super incredibly massive that has brought us to this table, to this discussion, to this panel today. And for me, it was definitely, you know, taking a look at, like, well, what did all of this mean? How can I reframe, you know, within my numerology, my Ennealogy, how can I reframe the experiences that I've had that have brought me to be the person that I am right now in this moment, which is the only moment in time. And that's the thing that it's taught me the most, is that I've really been just like trying to master, or not trying, but essentially in the process of mastering how to transmute, you know, the dark to the light, the dark to the light. For me, for sure, the heaviest experience was getting out of addiction, getting out of the narcotics, getting out of alcoholism, getting out of addictions to food, getting out of addictions to thought, you know, coming in those places that are as a 3, like understanding how much I have to execute restraint, because I really fit into, you know, wanting things to be excessive. I get bored easily, you know, so I'm constantly looking for something that's going to kind of fill up that void. And it's been such a blessing to really understand it through the lens of Ennealogy, because it is a lens. It's simply there as a lens, as a tool for us to be able to just take a deeper look into our own human behaviors, you know. And it's been a really amazing opportunity. And one of the other things that's been interesting is like I've always struggled with extra weight, both in the physical, but really carrying the extra weight, like just being a surrogate for a lot of things that weren't really mine in my life. And so I've always had like more weight around my stomach area. And being Jupiter, that's pretty funny, I think. But, you know, it's just interesting to kind of understand how even that, you know, is something that I really had to look at, that, you know, 3s tend to be a little bit larger around the waist area, and how to kind of reframe and really look at that, and what that means for me, always what that means for me. And, you know, because I'm a meaning maker. So, you know, yeah, that's the gist of, I think that pretty much embodies how it's been, you know, helping me in the understanding of myself and how I move through this world. Wholeness.
Thank you, sis.
Absolutely. How about you, my fellow 3?
I know you were gonna do that. Oh my. Wow. It's really interesting because Faith, Faith, I don't know who I said Faith, I'm sorry, Paige, when you asked how do we see ourselves? When I first came into Ennealogy, especially like doing a number 3, a lot of the characteristics I didn't see myself as far as like an educator, someone who had, you know, charisma, you know, yeah, that was not me. Or I didn't think that was me. And that's the thing. I didn't think that was me until I guess just along this just journey and just going within self and just learning about self, I realized that a lot of the aspects of Jupiter I embodied, and just, I guess through just life experiences and, you know, me allowing people to tell me who I am and what I should do, just kind of, I guess, put those things on the back burner or put them in hibernation. The one thing that was not in hibernation, and I did it by nature, I guess, or by trade, is, you know, they said that one of the jobs that you could have in being a 3 is a scientist. And lo and behold, I have a bachelor's in biology, not realizing that was something that was just, you know, that called to me. The only reason why I went in science is because science was the only thing that made sense to me. I didn't have to study really, really hard to get it. It just kind of, you know, was just there. And I wanted something easy to get through college. And, you know, so I did that. But I will say the things that they say about Jupiter as far as being loyal, I don't want to say I'm loyal to a fault, but I'm very, very, very loyal. That is something that is kind of bit me in the behind because of my loyalty. That's just, you know, I don't know. And the person could, you know, just be as deceitful as they want to be, but I still see the light in them. you know. Don't know why, but that's just how I am. And I
And you're
also
a
realized
3.
a 3. Yeah. And then I also realized that the 3 doesn't like small jobs. Again, growing up, I was always happy to be a worker bee. You just tell me what you need to do, what you need to be done, and I'll do it. But my later years, I realized that I cannot stand that. That is not something that I like to do at all, at all. And I don't know what switched, but I'm glad it did, because being a worker bee, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, it didn't allow me to shine, and it didn't allow me to get outside of my comfort zone, which I know I need to do in order to do things that I'm here to do.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that answered your question, Paige, but oh, well, I say this now I do see myself as I waver as a leader in this thought, just because of, old thought patterns will try to come back, and monkey mind will try to come and say something to me. But I do see that. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Wholeness, ladies.
Wholeness.
I love it.
Love.
Who's next? Yeah, I want to go next, or me.
I'll I'll go. So as far as embodying my numbers is interesting. So I'm actually a dragon with a head, which is because I'm a K2 psychic number 7, but my destiny is number 4. So
Oh,
it's,
wow.
yeah, so it's very interesting to have both aspects. So in my early life, there's an aspect of me which is very much the number 7, and then the number 4 comes in as my destiny number, and so they're both spiritual beings. So my whole life is ruled by spirituality, and however, when we talk about how do you embody your number, um, it's literally like nobody, you know, the 4 and the number 7. So it's all spiritual. And that's why I said, like, at first I didn't see it. Most of my life was like, this is very much physical because of my illnesses. I've always had something, I must have had like, I don't know, 7 surgery throughout my life. And at least, there's minor ones, and so it's also like a physically painful type of life, and then only to find out later that it's all been a spiritual experience, and it's like the anti of everything that you can think of. So it's so embodying or disembodying this number has been my journey, really. So even now, looking back and reflecting, when I thought things were physical, they were absolutely spiritual experiences. Because within that heart that was going on, or whatever was going on, was this level of it that was, again, spiritual. So yeah, I find myself, very much a K2. You know what I mean? Like, and then overall being able to balance myself out with the Rahu, and then vice versa, you know. So I do again sometimes find myself even talking to me or to the different me's in relation to how I handle things, and the way I handle things is, sometimes forgetting about putting myself first. So that's always like a reminder to the from between the 7 and the 4. It's like to put yourself first, to not put yourself last, and or to, so it's a great battle, and I say battle just because I'm saying battle, but um, of like a battle of accountability to the self, being this number, or these two numbers, because I actually do have someone in my life, Savant, who's also like a 4. So my K2, his and my relationship like shows, but then I I understand the relationship even more so because I see it within myself, like how I deal with myself. And sometimes, like, that's my biggest lessons now, into seeing not just with my relationship with other people, but my relationship with myself, with the aspects of of what I need to do for me, and how do I answer me. And that's that relationship between the 7 and the 4 for me. Like, okay, here you're supposed to have this experience as a 7, but how is the overall look of your life, as the destiny 4. And that's the interplay between the 4 and the 7, saying, okay, the psychic number and the destiny number. And so, because I am in my 40s, so later in your life, you do have to really look at that destiny number, because now what's your overall life lessons? And and of course, in your day to day, you are still that, your psychic number, because that's how I deal and respond to people. But again, I look at it as like an accountability to me, or to the self, wholeness.
Yes. I guess I'll go next. So, as a psychic 5, the analyst, I feel like I embody that perfectly. And I say that because before I knew anything about numerology and Ennealogy, I was a total explorer. I'm talking about since I was little. Some examples of that. When when my mom and dad were out shopping sometime when I was younger, I was about 3 years old, and I got lost in the store. I didn't feel like I was lost. I wasn't upset. I was just exploring, just being me. And actually, I learned coming up that wasn't a good thing. That's what I was taught. Um, that to explore is not cool. So, but that didn't stop me. I was just inquisitive. I wanted to know about all kinds of things, everything, anything. And I have lots of interests. And because of that, I find myself a bit scattered, with too many activities. I'm doing too much, involved in too many projects, and tend to do this all the time, no matter how I try to stop it. And so in that way, I do embody the analyst. Also, I recall, again, thinking back to my youth, that I didn't know what it was called at the time, but I'm very intuitive, which a lot of us are, but until I really understood what that meant, and then being able to reflect back on my life and think back on some of the things that I just knew. And mostly because I'm empathic also, and tend to feel things really deeply. And for a long time, I couldn't explain to people why I felt the way I felt, and why I was taking things as deeply as I did when others didn't feel that way. It just affected me differently, which is what makes us all unique. But in that way, the intuitiveness of the 5, I do embody that. One other thing is, I tend to be very flexible in ways that most people aren't, and patient. And I think that's what kind of led me to nursing. When I was younger, I liked to nurture and take care of things, plants, animals, bugs. And I carried that into adulthood. And I think that made me a great advocate for my patients. Again, in the talking about my need to explore, I went into some of the most intense areas of nursing, but I found them rewarding. I worked critical care and I worked labor and delivery. And so with the critical care, it was just like all of this machinery and technology and drips, drugs that did these things to people. And I was intrigued with all of that. All of that really gave me a rush. Eventually, I got too old for that and changed into something else, moved on to other areas of nursing, labor and delivery, which I loved. Because the work wasn't mine. The work belonged to the laboring mom, but I was there to guide and coach and be there. And I still get chill bumps just thinking about that. I just feel like one of the best things you can do in life is to help someone bring new life into the world. There's nothing like it. And the gratitude you feel, especially from new parents, is amazing. And I loved it. I got a charge from it. So, and I think all of that kind of fits into the analyst, the Psychic 5 embodiment. And so in those respects, I feel like I really embody that archetype. One of the final things I wanted to say is, I hate it when that happens, and it just did. So all of you talked about your age. So I'm 50 plus, just so you know. So sometimes the slips happen, and I just had one. So wholeness.
Oh,
Wholeness.
I love that, Tony. That's so funny. I got chills too when you said like, oh, you being a labor nurse and
Me too.
it's like bringing new life here, man, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful to be a witness of that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I can attest to Sister Tony being definitely empathic. She's always texting me like when it's like, when I'm having a day, because I'll get a message from her. Hey sister, how you doing? You just crossed my mind today. And I'm like, that's because I'm having a day, and I am. Like yesterday, I was having such a day yesterday. And for sure enough, I had a message from her, but it's definitely been on more than one occasion. So I just appreciate you so much for being and for showing up as yourself, sister. Thank you.
Wholeness. Wow. So I guess it's on me now. So I am a Psychic 9 and Destiny 7. And I identify with these numbers to the T. I feel like they're split down the middle as to who I am. They really, really give a thorough and complete explanation as to the path for myself. And I can start with, I guess, the 7, because I've had these interesting experiences, with the energy of the 7. For those that don't know, I'm very, very funny in my private life, very, and that's hey, look, y'all laughing right now, funny. But I'm very, in my private life, I'm very, very funny. I actually thought about comedy, and I love business. I've always loved business. And my mother, she's, always instilled for us to own something. And I mean, since I was small, I was trying to figure out how to sell something and do things, and from Girl Scout cookies all the way to selling CDs and stuff. My mom gave me a computer and things like that, and so I was burning CDs and selling them and mixtapes and stuff, and, LimeWire and all the things that we used to use back in the day. And so I used to do that, when I was small, just always active and always doing something. But very introverted as well. Like I was on the outside, I could speak to anybody, but on the inside, I just felt like just real reserved. Didn't really want to be around people much. I'd rather be to myself. And I'm the type of person, hey, I'm really introverted. So, with all that time to yourself, you do think about all the jokes that you'll crack. And,
there it is.
There it is, right? And so, like, it's just so interesting because, like, the 7 dynamic, I've always made it the basis of spirituality, everything. That's my foundation. And I've just always been an individual that, just wanted to know and dive deeper as to why I'm here. What is this? And when I was small, I was asking questions. I asked my mom when I was small, like, you think we could be in a video game or something? She's like, no. And I was, serious about it. And so I was just really on that quest. And then as to coming into Ennealogy in my adulthood, everything clicked for me. Because although I was although I felt this 7 dynamic, there were some things missing that I didn't quite understand about myself, like, or just needed a further explanation, the validity of myself. And this, completed everything with this 9 dynamic, being a psychic 9, a person, that is selfless. And that is the lesson, to be selfless. And a lot of the times I dealt with, myself, a lot of the times, just being introverted and always dealing with myself, that 9 thing, like just always about you kind of deal. I learned that, hey, that wasn't really healthy, for you. Your mission in life is to be selfless. You are a writer by nature. I love to write. I love poetry. I love poetry. And Veronica's a great poet. She has this 9 quality about her. I love poetry. I love to write. I love music. And to teach, to be a teacher. That's a 7 quality. I was teaching in my actual life as well at Chicago Public Schools. So teaching there, and teaching online with YouTube, being a spiritual speaker and motivational coach and things of that nature. So I feel like I embody these numbers to the T, both of them. And I guess what it's like for me being a 9 is really understanding that there is no light without dark, no matter how dark it is. Mm-hmm. And there is no, and vice versa. How light it is. Well, how light it is actually how dark it is. How dark it is how light it is. They're the same thing. And that's my mission and my objective in life, is to make individuals understand both of them fully, because we need both of them. And to demonize one and accept the other is to reject both. Mm-hmm. And so, this is me, just really bridging the gap between the two, and, consciously making the world, aware that both is us. It's in both of us. So, wholeness.
Oh, that was beautiful.
I love that. Great. That was awesome. I just want to say one thing that you had kind of touched on, Paige, is that we have all of these aspects in us. It's just that certain aspects are illuminated because of either the influences we have around us or whatever, you know, but we do have all of these aspects in us. So I just wanted to make sure that that was said, because sometimes,
Yes.
you don't identify with some of the characteristics of, your psychic number or your destiny number, but you identify with another number, so just want to make sure that that is, stated.
Absolutely. We definitely thank you so much for making that clear and bringing that forward. For sure, we're calling in the experiences in our life that are basically calling us out to embody the truest form of expression from ourselves. So for sure, thank you for that.
Wholeness. So it's so interesting because now, we got to go a little rapid fire,
Okay.
to the meat of it. You know what I mean? This is wonderful, ladies. I love that. I love this. So let me ask the next question. So we talked about how we see ourselves, with this Ennealogy. Now let's talk about also, since we talked about balance, you know what I mean? In the conscious community, there is this big misconception that everything is namaste and love and light. And it's not always like that. And it's just really important that we address this, because there's a lot of people only showing the light and not really activating the other side when necessary. So I wanted to ask, let's talk about the topic. Not everything is namaste, but when is it appropriate for us to deal with our shadow self and know when to use our shadow self? Somebody want to? Oh, Deyes, all right.
Yeah, I love this question. So, because I think some people are not ready to jump and show their shadow self, because what they're showing is not even the shadow self. It's like it's still a distorted version. It's like I think we think of the shadow self as this negative, evil being, and it's not, and that's the thing, because it's the opposite side of you, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's like because are you all light? Like, do you see what I'm saying? So you sort of have to, like, are you examining yourself correctly first, and then to say, okay, this is my shadow self, because sometimes I think we have shadows of shadows, right? So I would say, like, is every negative thing that you show about yourself your shadow self? No. Because to me, like, that shadow self is it's the unconscious side of yourself, not something that's a negative. It's the part of yourself that's psyche, it's the part of yourself that's like, oh, I'm operating on another level, not just, because again, sometimes we make reference to words and are only looking at it from one point. And while your shadow self is so way complicated, the same way you're complicated, the part of you that's conscious and aware and is walking around and has life and has all of these things that it's dealing with, is all, is the same thing that the shadow self is having to deal with. So in a way, like, so if we're saying, okay, do we want to show a negative part of ourselves, or are we saying, do we want to, because this is how I had looked at it, right? Because I sort of teach part of this way. When you look at the aspect of the mother energy versus the enchantress energy, the enchantress energy is like a queen, she's a ruler, she's like a boss, right? The mother energy is like the nurturer. But think about it, within that same household is a mother and an enchantress, because she has to rule the household. And she's using different skills to rule. And there's a part of her, like, you know, like a part of me can be like to Bradley, hey Bradley, how you doing today, did you eat, you know? And then there's another part of me that's going to be to Bradley, hey, you didn't do your homework or you didn't do the work, get your butt up there. And these two aspects of the self is still that same person, but dealing from different, you know. So in terms of saying, okay, how do I use that energy within myself, and then looking at you know, a part of me that doesn't necessarily go straight into the light. Because when I don't go straight into the light, is because that's not what's needed at that moment. Think about, like, you know, when we go into night, right? When we go into night, that's needed. That's a part of me that's needed so that I can rule. It's not a part of me that needs to hide, you know. It's a part of me that's actually in the dark, because that's where it rules, and that's where it's at its full power. I call it, you know, you step, you know, that's why Snow White has a stepmother instead of the mother energy. The step, she stepped into her rulership. And if you can own that, it doesn't need to be negative. And it doesn't need to just, you know, because if I have a healthy shadow self, you know, which is just the opposite side of my rulership. If I have a healthy shadow self, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's light or dark. It's just like what I need it to be at that moment.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Accurate. That was accurate. That was definitely accurate. I'm definitely feeling that for sure, is to really be able to look at it through a clear lens, that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's negative, but that we are responding to life and the experience that is at hand and before us in that moment, which we called into existence for our own evolution at that moment in time, to be able to be what that energy is calling you to be in that moment, whatever that is. You don't even have to name it. You just need to be it. You know what I'm saying? And this whole everything is namaste thing, like that needs to end. Basically, that is my, you know, my lens on that. You know, the everything is namaste equals, to me, equals the false light, because it's so incomplete. You know what I'm saying? And we're really talking about coming into our wholeness here. And so we really need to take in what that actually means. And the way that we take that in is by actually embodying all of ourselves. And so if there is, listen, my shadow is what got me in this room right now, okay? I'm in a hotel room today because I was facing some real ish yesterday, and I was like, no, I am walking away from this situation because I need self-preservation and self-love. And what that looks like, you know, I really had to ask myself, am I, and you know, I was talking to Neva, who's my soul coach right now, and it was like, are you doing this to escape yourself, or are you doing this as an act of self-love? And I basically came to the understanding that was like, well, I guess I'll know once I take that step. I guess, like, I just have to allow that shadow part, because it just wasn't conscious to me yet. It was still in the dark. I guess I have to take that step and see what that means for me. But it got me here. You know what I mean? It's getting us places. And it's actually, we also need to look at that as the bringer of balance. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That shadow is also a part of the core of our being that is allowing us to tap into our balance, you know, and then it's our job to sustain that. But essentially, you know what I mean? Like I had to get here and really do it honor and sit in that chair that's behind me for 2 hours today and just sit in silence and turn everything off and say, all right, like what, basically just be, and just allow myself to be and sit with the heaviness of my emotions. I was really in my emotional body, and I was just, you know, going through some things that, again, I had brought into, you know, my experience. And sometimes we just don't want to see that we are accountable for the things that we are calling into our experience. And And that's basically you denying your shadow. That's you denying a part of you. And when all it is requesting of you is to acknowledge it, is to accept it, is to love it just as much as you love the light, and you love the clarity, you know, and you love the whimsical and the etheric and the high vibration. This is not just about being in the high vibration, because it's about resonating truth. And when you're resonating truth, you can handle all vibrations. And that's the place that we essentially want to embody. That's where we essentially need to really be vibrating, when we are there to fully entrust in ourselves and really embody fully what it means to sit with that shadow aspect, and all, just so that we may have the other side of ourselves and come into our fullness and come into our wholeness and come into the home of ourselves, which is wherever you go, you know, everywhere you go, anywhere you go, there you are, right? You can't escape yourself. Wholeness.
Yes. Yes, that was awesome. I want to add something to that about, you know, the darkness, and how for some reason we were taught that darkness was bad. But I know, and even in the Christian church, you know, darkness is bad, and I had to look it up, but in the very first chapter, first verse or second verse, in the Bible, it says, and this is just reading Genesis 1. It says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Then God said, 'Let there be light.' And there was light." I mean, it's just like the darkness. We come from dark. I mean, you know, darkness came first. So why should you deny that when it came first and light came out of darkness? You know, so I just wanted to definitely just put that in there, that darkness is not a bad thing, like you said. And also I also see darkness as a motivator. Like you said, it got you to where you're at right now, you know. And for me, it got me to where I'm at right now too. I had been told, and I didn't realize this, but you know, being the only child, the selfish nature just kind of, that's just it. You know, I guess it's the 7 part too of me, but I'm very, you know, just very selfish and thinking about myself. In 2016, I was in a situation where, like you, Veronica, you had to get out. You were doing self-preservations, and I was called all types of names, and, you know, just all types of names, because I needed to get out to save my own psyche, you know. And I felt horrible about it. I felt so bad at the time. I felt so bad because I'm like, how could I leave somebody at the time of in their need? But all I knew is I couldn't breathe. That was thinking, I was thinking, well, if I can't breathe, how can I help them? You know. But I just want to say, darkness is not a bad thing. That's all.
Heard. Thank you, sister.
Thank you for that. You know, because there are a lot of people who, you know, are avid Bible readers. And so they need to know, hey, there is a time to use your shadow self. You know, there is a time. It's a time, you know.
Absolutely. And trust that it is essentially what we all need for the self-discovery portion. You can't, you know what I mean? You gotta, if you're writing a path, writing a wave of self-discovery, it's like, it's uncharted waters, it's uncharted territories, you know? So it's like, how deep do you really want to go? That's the question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted to chime in on that too, about not everything is namaste, and using both the balance of the light and the dark. I always mention that in the worst of times, in the darkness is also a reflection of how high I am on the opposite end of the spectrum. As low as you are, you're also high in that other realm, because sometimes we have to hit rock bottom in order to get up there anyway. Like, I listen to all these motivational speakers. Like, I remember one story that really, that really gets me is Lisa Nichols, her story, where she was talking about how, her son Jelani, I think that's his name, and she didn't have enough money for Pampers for him, and she was working at Los Angeles school district, and she didn't have enough money for Pampers for him one day, and had to wrap him in a towel. And she said, I would never get to this point again. And that was the turning point for her to, get some pep in her step and really come into her calling, And so when we reach our low points, we also reach a high somewhere else. Same thing with the light and the dark. In the dark is where we also find our inner light. And me, I'm avid about, like, if I need to go off, I'll go off. You're not always going to see a smile or a laugh with it. It's serious. If I care about it, you're going to get the other side of it, especially if it's not done right, or if it offends me in any kind of way, especially if it's family and I feel triggered because I love y'all and I might be a little upset, they can get the other side. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's about the appropriate time, the appropriate place, the appropriate setting. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't always have to be with a smile. It's not normal. It's not healthy always anyway. Like, you ever seen them people who don't cry? Like, come on, man, you ain't never been through nothing. You know what I mean? Like, they're always smiling. They're always cool. They always chill. And it's like, are you a clone or something? What's going on? What is going on?
Who are you? What are you?
Like, there are times where I really have to look at people and say, guys, we got to be real about the topic at hand here. This is serious business in terms of dealing with a loss or suffering or death. And when you're dealing with those kinds of things, especially in the darkness, it's important to remain present and honor however you're feeling at that time, rather than showing people a facade. If you're feeling a certain way, express that. If it's not up to everybody's liking or a certain image, then that's on them. But you have to honor yourself and how you feel. We all have a lower element to ourselves that we just have to express. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And then when we are gifted with something, or there's complete joy in our lives, we shout, we celebrate, we laugh, we smile, we chant, we dance, we do all these different things. And nobody has anything to say about that, But then when I'm grieving, or I'm suffering, or I'm losing something, or it's real dark, then everybody wants to judge that. And it's like, no, that's not balance. Balance is to recognize both, embody both, and embrace both, because they both will come if they're not here already. And it's important that we have to honor both of them because they're the same thing. So that's just what I want to say.
That's right. They're the same thing.
It's great that you said the thing about balance, is that it's understanding, how balance gets achieved in a healthy way, like, not, either faking it through it, or being overly the one way. It's like, because there's a sucking of the energy that happens where if you want to talk about evil versus darkness, you know what I mean? Where someone can be so one way that they're abusive of it. Like, either it could be like, oh, I'm so happy, like light, versus I'm so down and I only want to be down, where, I can express my down and in a way that transmutes the energy. This understanding is like, literally, like in my practice, what you do with the negative energy is that you feed it to the earth. And it's so funny, like, you know, a lot of people go and say they want to save the earth. Well, feed all of your negative energy to the planet. You know what I mean? Which is like, think about it, because, you know, the planet will transmute this energy, you know, you so and positive and negative, if you give it, and then what, you know, like when we breathe in, breathe out, you know, you breathe, you, what do? You breathe in oxygen and then breathe out, you know, carbon dioxide, and the tree takes it in. Well, if you do the same thing with your negative energy or your negative emotion, especially, then that is going to be embraced by the planet and it'll be able to transmute it. And this, you know, understanding, okay, you know, if I'm gonna go from positive to negative in a way that's going to energize me, you know, that's transmuting the energy in a healthy manner, and knowing what your boundaries are.
Yeah.
I literally had to set my boundaries, like, you know, and Veronica and I had this conversation. It's like you have to set your boundaries and hold tight to it, you know, so that, and it's a thing, because people will try to, like, you know, go over your boundaries all of the time, and then ask you for things that is not allowable, you know, when it, you know, in terms of expending your energy. And it's really has to be like, hey, here's my healthy boundary for me, especially because I'm in a spiritual space, so I have to make sure, you know, like Tony, you know, I feel energy around me, so I have to say, okay, how do I want to maintain my energetic space, you know, otherwise I'll have all sorts of people trampling all over it, and then thinking that it's okay. Oh, it's okay. Like, your DS. No, not. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, they know I'll kick you off the chat. Like, it's really, it really has to be like, hey, here's the boundary of where you're not sucking on my energy. And I'm going to give it when, for as much as I can for now. And that's it, not no more. And I don't owe you. You know what I mean? And again, and I know I'm sort of saying healthy in like in a psychological type of way, but that's the only reference I can make it, you know, in terms of looking at it just in the spiritual way to say, hey, you know, these same rules really apply to us spiritual beings, to saying, hey, now that I'm in this space where, you know, I do feel people's energy. You know, there's still things going on in my life that are negative, positive, that's, you know, dramatic, and so on and so forth. And I have to handle it all. And so some days I don't want to pick up the phone or say hello or smile or anything like that. And that's okay too, all of it. And I need that space to be able to do it in. You know, so that balance need, you know, and I you know, I tell everybody, like, that balance is something that's maintained. You work at it. You know, I know, like, there are some people that go, oh, you know, they're in this space where I'm not there yet. Like, you know what I mean? I have all sorts of practices, and that's why they're practices. Otherwise, I'd be the all in the, you know, and I would be directing from the all space. But from the their space, I am dealing with more and more spiritually, and, you know, and learning, but also making sure that I'm setting, especially as I setting these boundaries, like, you know, foundation. I build my foundations every day. You know, it's not, I you know, build it and forget it. It's really, you know, supporting and re-supporting all of the time, you know, so balance. Love that word.
Beautiful.
Oh,
I don't have too much more to add. I just, you talked about taking, you know, your dark energy and taking it to the earth to have it transmuted. And that is real thing. I find that my sweet spot, my sweet space, when I'm not feeling, you know, on 10, is to just go outside. Just go outside. It's amazing how things change tremendously. Just being out in the air, being able to see the trees, hear the birds, put your feet in the grass. It's, yeah, good stuff.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Good reminder.
That I just wanted to add to that too. Earlier, I was really upset, and I called my mom, I'm venting, and I'm going off and everything. She said, "You got to do something about your anger." I said, "I need you as a mom. Just be here until I'm driving, and when I get out the car, I'm gonna go outside. But I need you right now." And immediately when I went outside, I was like, "Hey, I'm outside, but now I'm back inside." It was too windy. And just being outside, like you said, Tony, really does a lot, especially when you ground in the soil or in the grass, and you just ground and you take those deep breaths and you hug a tree. People think that's a myth. No, it's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Real.
Hugging a tree really does help. Tree huggers, it's okay. Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
I want to say, I just want to second that too. Going outside, I have to make sure I have a routine now that once I wake up and I give thanks and, just for the, my rest, I will go outside. I would definitely go outside and just listen to the birds, let the sun hit me on the face. And that usually sets my mood for the day. If I don't do that, I'm a little off. I'm not even going to lie. So nature is a cure-all for me anyway.
Take it to the mother.
Yes. Oh, and that was I'm glad you said that. And that's another thing. Because, Earth, Gaia is a mother, it's the nurturing aspect of that. And so, yes, I'm glad you said that. I just wanted to throw that in there too.
Well, all right, ladies. How do y'all feel? This conversation was beautiful.
It was. I'm loving it. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah.
This conversation was like oxygen. Like I'm breathing.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's nourishing for sure on a soul level. It's speaking from soul to soul, and I mean that we just can't get enough of that.